Okay, we'll talk a little bit. Haven't done a video for a while, so I thought, okay, I got something I wanted to talk about. I've had a Thompson for many years, and it's been on quite a few videos in the past. Uh, it's a 27A1, the semi-automatic carbine version. It's got the longer barrel than the regular Thompson, and I like it. It's a quirky sort of thing. Um, Certainly not for everybody, though. Everybody has a real interest in them. They're a fascinating device. But the other day, I was watching a video from in-range TV, and Carl had got himself a 27A1. The auto ordnance. Now, uh, he had some problems with his, which I don't really. The history on the company is kind of weird. Like I bought mine used, so I don't know how old it is. It's kind of hard to figure that out. But mine has worked great right from the time I got it. I've never had a problem with it. They're different, like I say, certainly not for everybody. But I was watching this video, and he was talking about it, the problems that he had and all this. And he mentioned something that I thought was interesting too, that they did come out with a Trump commemorative one. Now they must have got licensing, some agreement from Trump to do that, I would think. But they have one that's it's like 2,500, something like that. They sell for like 1,500 normally, but it's a Trump one, so they jack the price up. But then they also have a wasteland one that's like $10,000, which is crazy. And it's just a kind of beat up looking one with a bunch of engraving on it, and they got a motorcycle chain for the sling, weird stuff. It's a quirky company. And that's what Carl was talking about, some of the quirks of the company. But like I say, it's changed hands. So it gets a little vague in there at times. And I don't know if mine was an earlier one, because like I say, I've had it for years and I got it used, and mine has got no bugs with it whatsoever. And like I say, I've done several videos with that. But I made a comment on Carl's video, saying I've had mine for years and really has given me no problem. And it wasn't, but like an hour later, all of a sudden I get a notification from YouTube that a video I did in the past on my Thompson was going to be age restricted. It was like a 2-minute video, and I don't, the gun is not full automatic, so that's one of their things, and I didn't take the gun apart, which is another one of their things. I don't know. Anyway, they're going to age restrict it. They really don't like that kind of video. And honestly, I know I did the appeal. You have a right to appeal. I appealed. That's just a waste of time, but you do it just as a matter of course. Because the age restriction is a funny thing. Then you have to, like, if you're going to watch an age-restricted video, you have to be signed into your account that confirms that you are over 18. Because I've actually run into that before, where some videos are age-restricted I can't watch. Well, here's this one probably I can't watch because, they keep bugging me to say They want your information about how old you are, that you're over 18. They want your birthday. And I've never given it to them. Though they say I'm required by law to do this, I just refuse to do it. And the same with I don't allow them to keep track of videos that I have watched, your history and all that stuff. They want it. They really want all that information. Well, anyway, like I say, after I made a comment on Carl's video, that one of mine got age restricted right away. And when I think back on it, half of the videos I've done over the 13 years or something I've been on YouTube, half of them would be age restricted if they have their way, if you bring it to their attention. The only reason this one got it was because I got into their attention by making a comment on a video from InRange, which they do not like either, he's been demonetized for a long time. But that's, in fact, it was funny that I got that video from him in my feed because though I was subscribed to him, I was suddenly not subscribed to him, so for some reason it accidentally showed up and I had to resubscribe to him. But I just thought it was funny. But they're constantly trying to get as much information and history, including comments that you make or videos that you watch. They really want to have all that stuff. See, at one time, it was very hard for them to do that sort of thing. They didn't have the computer power to do it, but now they do. But it did take them like an hour before they did that one. But you have to keep that in mind when you comment on videos that you're all of a sudden kind of exposing yourself to their revenge. And it's funny because, there's nothing about the Thompson that doesn't fit in their guidelines, but they will stretch a point. And so it's funny they didn't take the video down, but like I say, there's no justification for it, but it doesn't really matter to them. And if you get these age restrictions on your videos, they're never recommended to somebody. You really have to search. In fact, to find a video for me to review it, like I say, a 2-minute video, I had a hell of a time finding it on my channel to look at what it could possibly be. And there was nothing there, that he could possibly go with. But we'll see what this appeal does, but I have very little faith in him. The appeals are usually a waste of time. But I didn't get a strike or anything for it. Well, and they left the video up. They just age restricted it, which is like shoving it in a closet someplace. I'd actually even forgot about that video, but when I think back, there's a hell of a lot of videos that I've done that, well, if I say it now, they probably go back and search through them and age restrict them or make me do the appeal crap again. They're a funny bunch. Well, okay. Just to torment them, I'm going to have to take the Thompson out again someday and do a video on it. Just to bug them. Because I know they hate like Drum Magazine. I did with the 50-round drum one day. Ooh, they didn't like that at all. I think that was demonetized right away. Because their rules are really freakish, and really loose. They can interpret them many different ways. But we had rain today. It's been 90 degrees and windy for the last week. But yesterday we had rain, and it's still carrying on today, which is great because I've been gardening and I've been watering the garden steady to try to keep them little seedlings alive. But now that I got rain, I'm in good shape. But other than that, when it isn't raining, I've been riding motorcycle. I've got like 3,000 miles on the one. And I've been playing around with the XT now, you know, because I've always used that for off-road, but I'm making it street legal. And one of the things I'm doing, you know, XT has got a 6-volt electrical system. Well, that's all right in a way, but I really want to upgrade it to 12 volts so I can run uh, the LED lighting, because I have found that to work really good on my SR. So I'm thinking to upgrade that to a 12-volt system, but I don't want to put a battery in it. That just adds complexity I don't need. And ignition is separate from everything else on them, you know. So I actually was thinking, this is the stator from an SR that's got a bad trigger. Well, I might be able to kind of mess around and get this. I was going to replace this trigger because I got a new one, but I could possibly run the SR, so I got a 12-volt lighting system in the XT, run this stator, and still use points. Though it might involve having to go with a battery, I don't know. Or I could just go, you know, straight SR, but then I've got the electronic ignition to deal with. But the idea of using, because you can convert them to 12 volts, but it's $500, $600, $700 operation, and I would sooner use factory Yamaha parts, you know, just in a different application, just as for convenience. You know, then it'd be the same as my SR that I use on the street. But I do like points. But I could use an SR charging system to charge a 12-volt battery, and I'd simply have to change out the coil to a 12-volt coil. Because all this does is triggers. You know, it's really no different than a point. It's just using a sensor on a flywheel. Though they use a built-in electronic advance, and the point system uses a mechanical advance. I don't need two advances. Well, I have to think about that. I was going to solder that on, you know, just got to change the wire. But I have to think about that some more. But it's been good riding. You know, even in these windy days, I've been making use of that bike. But I got a lot of gardening done, and now with the rain, in fact, I think, oh yeah, I was out in the garden today. Radishes are that big, not big, but I figured, oh, we'll start at them, you know, because they get out of hand in a hurry, and they're good because I've been putting a lot of water on. Because a radish, if they get dry, they'll still grow, but they'll be hot and woody. And I would sooner keep them edible. But now I should be, but usually they get out of hand. You know, radishes are very easy to get out of hand. But everything's going good in the garden. Well, I might as well. Yeah, I'll have to think about maybe someday doing a video with the Thompson again, just to twerk them a little bit. But it does make you think, you know, that you really have to watch what you comment on. But like I say, everybody is trying to collect information on you as much as they can, and they do have the computing power now to be able to do that, to link it all together. That's why people are freaking out when now Trump is trying to make some deal with Saudi Arabia. They want to build some huge data centers in the U.S. for collecting information that then can be sold. And people are a little shook about that, but for good reason. I mean, that's just a plague, that constant collected data. And they use it for no good. But the idea that a comment can trigger repercussions to your channel, that's something you got to keep in mind. I seldom comment on videos, but even like if you like a video, you know, somebody's going off on some radical anti-government spiel and you like that video, you're on a list. Very easy to get on a list. And like I say, they have the power now to make big lists up. The good thing is that it's still very uncoordinated. You know, they'll track all this stuff, but they really can't make sense of it until after something happens. You know, like after that guy shot that healthcare CEO, then then they could track everything he's ever done or said, or you know, but they weren't aware of this until after the incident happened. Then they go back and they can find everything because it's all there. It just isn't at their fingertips. But they're trying to get that accomplished. But now I was going to start with that, but I'm going to think about that. It's an interesting dilemma. Because I do like having points. Though these Yamaha electronic ignitions are a solid unit. And like I say, I use them on my SR, and it's been good. This is the only one I've ever had that failed, and then if it just did trigger, that's not a big deal. But I do like the LED bulbs, and it's funny, they're pretty flexible about voltages too. So running without a battery, even if the voltage, like sometimes you idle a bike down, the voltage gets low and the lights will dim. LEDs don't seem to be affected too much. They can take quite a variance in voltage. Surprising. I know I was popping taillight bulbs on my street SR and I put in an LED one and I haven't had a problem since. You know, part of that is vibration. You know, the taillight, it's like a dog shaking water. When you get back to the taillight, the vibration really gets active. And I think that takes bulbs out. But the LED works fine. And, you know, if you're using power to run electrical stuff, it's pulling power from the motor. If something doesn't pull as much power, you know, it's power that you're saving, you know, to use for driving. I've noticed that on generators, LED bulbs, like if you turn on a regular light bulb, you can feel it, you can hear it in a generator pulling it down a little. LEDs don't pull down. They take very little power. So they're more efficient. But I'd like to have, you know, they're bright, super bright headlight at night. So I'm thinking the XT, if I'm going to be using it for street, I'd really like to put the LED in. They do make 6-volt LEDs, but they're usually the shape of a regular headlight. They take a regular headlight bucket. LEDs, you can get into a small, compact headlight. And that's what I've got on there now, is a compact headlight. But I got to hook them up. I think ski him a little more. But I could go just solid SR, would make it a lot simpler. And like I say, I like to keep things, you know, if I'm running the same electrical system on all my bikes, I can keep a spare on hand. I'm covered. I like to be covered. Ooh. Well, we'll see what YouTube does with that, with my appeal, but I have very little faith in that working out. They aren't prone to accepting appeals. Once they make up their mind, you're usually done. Though I said, I really don't care. I had actually forgotten about the video. But just the idea that it was a comment on somebody else's video that triggered this repercussion, that's what bothers me.